This is the Extensionists, Conversations with Great Thinkers in Agriculture. I'm Toban Dyck.
And I'm Whetter.
I was at the Forks many times in my life. When I was in first year university, I loved soccer. That was the only sport I knew, being raised in a village, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we played in school. And I signed up for soccer. And then the next week, folk dance training class was announced. I was interested to learn folk dance.
Mm-hmm.
Both the practices were at the same time, 5 p.m. I had to choose one.
Yeah.
I dropped soccer.
Yeah.
I got into performing arts. And then I was selected into university folk dance team, which performed at like inter-college festivals and inter-university festivals and then, national competitions. And we won national competitions as well. That taught me teamwork, group dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And even being a captain of the team,
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot how to manage your friends and your teammates and stuff, right? So that was a good exposure that came through that performing arts thing. And I had friends who were very good in theater, and they're still using, as agricultural scientists, as professors, they're still using theater as a tool to disseminate agricultural information.
This is incredibly interesting because I think this is something relatively new to the extension landscape in Western Canada. Anyway,
Yep.
Yeah. Toban and I are going to write a play and perform it at Ag Days.
We would love. Since you and
That's a great idea.
Yeah, isn't it a great idea? So since you and I first chatted or second chatted, Diljeet,
and when I suggested you to read a big book, Diffusion of Innovations by Rogers and Shoemaker, I think.
Yeah.
You bought that book.
I bought the book right
I want
away.
to see that book after the podcast.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Rogers and
as
Hammerstein.
proof that I actually bought it. I want to see it. Yeah. I don't believe you, man.
And I want to see that the spine has been cracked.
I love that book. I love that book. Yeah.
All right.
But that
performing arts as an extension
Theater.
tool.
Yes, theater,
Yeah.
performing arts, that intersection of those mediums and extension. Very, very interested in that, and like what the opportunities could be for extension in Manitoba, Western Canada, to use some of those tools. What do you see?
Well, there's a possibility,
Yeah.
but not like in developing countries. When we talk about India and, thickly populated countries and provinces like that, you can go to a village in the evening with university students, and they prepared a 25 minutes play on maybe cotton production or, pesticide use or overuse of pesticides and pollution or burning the straw. It could be any theme, right? And you announce that. And you're performing that play in a village, and there are like 200 people watching it in the evening.
And it's a play like...
theatrical play.
Hello, I'm a farmer. And then this person walks on stage and I'm the extension expert. You should stop burning your straw. Like how?
Okay,
Yeah,
let me explain that. Okay, now imagine, like, it's not simply role playing like an individual. For example, you're playing as a caterpillar.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like ball worms in cotton,
Yeah.
right? And one of them is a pesticide dealer who is focused on selling more pesticide.
Yeah.
And then an ag expert, which is public extension agent or extension specialist.
Mm-hmm.
He is educating the farmers about not overusing, judicious use of pesticides. And interestingly, I got a chance to translate some, those compact discs CDs.
Mm-hmm.
We got some CDs. It was like 44 CDs from Indian Council of Agricultural Research. India is a diverse country. And it was, the CDs were in Hindi language. But my province speaks Punjabi. And I remember me and my brother, we spent a few nights in a studio like this, and we did all the dubbing word by word in Punjabi language. And one of the series were so much interesting. It talked about wool production, sheep production. And there was role playing, like sheep talking to sheep. And imagine the dialogue. Hey, sister, how are you?
Right.
Right? How much wool you're producing this
Feeling pretty
season,
itchy.
right?
Yeah,
How was the sheep dip? Was
But
it
you-
itchy? Like were you itchy after? Yeah.
You know?
yeah.
So to make it interesting, to make your message interesting, when we talk about extension education, we also talk about message distortion. We used to do an exercise at our professional development courses as, assistant professors. We used to go for trainings. So there would be 20 people sitting in a row or around a table, and I say something to you quietly in your ear, and you pass that message to the next person.
Ooh.
And the message sent by the first person is not the message that you hear back from the 20th person. That is called message distortion.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's a good
Message
one. Yeah.
distortion. That happens. That happens everywhere. So we have to make sure the scientific message is not distorted before reaching to the stakeholders or end users. So that's the skill.
Have you ever so as kids we used to play a game called Telephone.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
exactly that. So you'd
Yeah.
whisper something and somebody and it would go all the way around the room.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
the last person would say what they heard. And it was like you said,
It was totally different.
Totally different.
Totally different, right?
I would have
Yeah,
played
but
that at a
that.
meeting.
But among adults,
Yeah.
people would think, how could it be different? Like, how could that be distorted? But to show that it actually could be,
that would be so fun.
would be, I think, quite impactful.
I was just thinking of a play. So we're talking. There's these new thresholds for grasshoppers, and we're also taking into account nymph stage, not just adults. And so there's a new threshold of 30 to 45 nymphs per square meter. And I was just thinking, so we're on stage and we've got all these people dressed up as grasshoppers. And we've got babies dressed up as grasshoppers to be the nymphs. And then so there's 20 per square meter, and the farmer wants to spray. And the extension agents say, whoa, like that's not ready yet. And then more people come on, and then we get to that 30 threshold, and then they're like, okay. And so it's all these people dressed up as grasshoppers and like all ages. And then you're like, okay, now you can spray, and then he goes and sprays them all.
That's beautiful. You remind me about my time in Manitoba Agriculture when I would go to collect data from the ditches, roadside, and in the interlake.
Yeah.
And you have to count those grasshoppers in a square meter. How hard is that, right?
Oh, we should have them running all around the stage.
Yeah, but like, how memorable would that be, right?
That's an estimate, right?
You're not going to forget that.
Yeah, that's right.
And I want to add this. We were talking about theater. We were talking about poems and songs written about various themes in agriculture. For example, why to burn straw because it pollutes. A beautiful thing that one of my friends who works as a professor there, he did was, that snake and ladder game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Snake and ladder game for farmers.
Yeah.
So it would be snake and ladder game,
Yeah.
but you did something like you chose a wrong pesticide or a herbicide. You go down.
Yeah.
You did the right thing. For example,
I love it.
mixed farming or, these, for example, any green manure crops.
Yeah.
You jump up the ladder, right? So
Did you just make this up right now?
No.
You've heard.
No,
Okay.
it's right there. I'm saying that on record. Yes, yeah, people are using that, and it's not just for the farmers.
Yeah.
It could be used in, for example, like why EVs are better than gas guzzlers, right?
Right.
You make a game about educating. Extension education is not just for agriculture. It's for veterinary sciences.
Sure.
It's for politics. It's for you said we're not talking about politics. So.
You said we're not talking about politics.
It could be for medical sciences. It could be for health. It could be for any subject. Extension education is basically educating the community. And I repeat, changing people's knowledge, skill, and attitude that ultimately changes their behavior to make better decisions. Just for example, negotiating power. You're selling your produce in the market. how to negotiate better, how to search better markets. You can maybe educate farmers how to use internet better, how to build confidence, how to talk to somebody, how to have a conversation, a professional conversation. It could be anything. We are not simply sending or throwing a message of technology in front of anybody, the end users. It's about strengthening their abilities to make better decisions on their farm, to make things better for them. That's why we say that learning by doing, we say that helping the farmers to help themselves. It's not about buying somebody 2 pounds of fish. It's about teaching them how to fish.
Yeah.
So that is extension education.
4-H for adults.
4-H for adults. You remind me of 4-H. Okay, Jay, Toban, tell me, like 4-H clubs. I studied about those 4-H's, right?
Yeah.
And they have their own,
Do you know what they are?
Well,
I grew up in 4-H.
yeah,
so-
you can remind me about
Yeah, you
that.
can
right?
remind all of us,
Hands and
yeah.
heart and
Yeah.
health and
head, heart, health, and hands.
yes,
there we
right?
go.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful model. I am a big fan of that model, 4-H clubs.
Yeah.
But I strongly feel that we need to promote 4-H clubs in urban areas in Western world,
Why?
especially Manitoba's example. Manitoba's example is like 60% of Manitobans live in Winnipeg.
Yeah, at least. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
if
yeah.
not
At
more,
least,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So those 60% families, their next generation children and school children, and even themselves, they do not get that opportunity to know about land, animals, agriculture, camping even, and other stuff that happens in 4-H clubs. I think we need to develop a model or maybe find some leaders. The biggest problem in 4-H is can't find leaders.
It is the biggest
So
problem,
find
yeah.
20 leaders in
Volunteer,
Winnipeg
Yeah.
and start 4-H clubs in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And those kids who like do not know about agriculture. This is the click. I have 2 boys, 21 and 12. If I talk to them, hey, do you want to get into agriculture? They're like, no. Because agriculture to them is like getting their hands dirty and, animals and rural area. But if I twist the question, like, hey, boys, are you interested in food production? Would be like, interesting. Yes.